Former cheaters of Reddit, how were you caught by your significant other? I caught my ex thanks to F-King Pokemon Go of all things. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data an app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. It was sad but also funny the way it went down. Knew my wife was up to some shady shit. Went through her texts, which I sent a lawyer. The one text that cut the deepest? Baby cakes Marco asking if he could jizz on her engagement wedding ring. FCKU. Amanda. And FCKU. Marco. Advertised myself on Craigslist casual encounters and her brother-in-law found me on there. It wasn't until some time later I questioned what he was doing in there also. Maybe he was looking for you. My first girlfriend cheated on me. She left to go to a party. But I couldn't go. So I kissed her and said, "Have fun. Be safe." Double quote. She later called me and said she slept with 2 guys. And that it was so fun that she was dumping me. I'm still recovering from that one. Honestly, you had a lucky break. Imagine pouring more time into that for it to then happen. Even worse if she didn't tell you for some time after. You dodged a bullet. Unfortunately she didn't dodge those 2 DCKS. Back in the day Snapchat used to tell you the top 3 friends if any of your friends. I saw that I was number 1. Her best friend was number 3. And some dude co-worker was number 2. I later logged into her Voxer account and was able to hear conversations between her and said dude where she'd say things like she can't wait to run her hand through his hair, and then the pinnacle when he asked her if his just tasted different after drinking pineapple Monster energy drink. She said she doesn't usually taste it and just swallows it and that she'll have to pay more attention next time. Confronted her and she's telling me I'm taking it out of context. Yay. Cause that's normal conversation between male and female co-workers. Was on a break with my girlfriend at the time. Got a text from a girl that had mutual friends with and knew each other kind of well. Started having dirty conversation. Talking about sleeping together. Etc. Turns out my girlfriend at the time had gotten a burner phone with a different number and was the one sending me the texts the whole time. She was not pleased. OP looking for advice on how to avoid getting caught cheating. My iPhone synced to her roommate's laptop revealing a treasure trove of nudes I had saved in my camera roll. Years later iPhones now ask you if you want to trust a computer you're charging from, rather than just syncing. Wait, what? Your phone blindly sends all photos to computer when connecting to charge? WTF. This was specifically the way iPhone interacted with iTunes back when that was pretty much the only official way to transfer files to from the device. Wait. I can't just move MP3s onto this thing from wherever? Was what pointed me towards Android way back when. There were definitely cases of the opposite sync happening too. Where you'd plug your phone into someone's computer with iTunes running and it would sync by erasing everything that isn't also on the computer. Buddy of mine was cheating on his wife with a cam girl. They were a very religious church-going couple in their 20s. The cam girl blackmailed him for $500 US. Or she would send it to his entire friends list. Wife. Parents. Grandma. Pastor. He paid her off. When she asked for $500 more he confessed. She still sent the videos. It was pretty crazy for a while. The wife was considering a divorce until she got pregnant. They worked things out. And things are all good now. The guy really turned around and became a much better person. I admitted it. Being a cheater is one thing, but it turns you into a liar too, and by the end of it you've completely lost your soul. I didn't want to do that. So I admitted it. I did the same thing. The morning after. She knew something was up and I couldn't keep it from her. It messed us up pretty bad for a while, but we were able to work it out and we are still married to this day. It was the single biggest mistake I have made in my life and really wish I could go back and change it. I caught my boyfriend of 2 years. He had asked me to proofread his paper on his Mac and a text messenger popped up in the right hand. He was sitting in his bed texting some girl goodnight I love you while sitting right next to me in his bed. I deleted his entire paper. Wrote who's Marissa? Saved it and told him it looks great and left. She was his girlfriend of 8 years who lived next to his parents 2 hours away. Came back into town a day early and went to surprise him at work. Found him f***ing another secker. Not me but my wife. We started getting distant from each other and we had planned a trip to see my grandparents who live a few states away. A month before the planned trip she told me that she wanted to cancel it and go to a family reunion on her side of the family in a completely different state and that she wanted to go alone and not bring out kids. I thought it was weird because wouldn't you want to introduce your kids to family hey never see? Like I said we were growing distant so I just said okay fine go. Maybe time apart will be good for us. She came back and suddenly wanted to move across the county to go work at a hospital job that her distant aunt had offered her. Didn't even ask me if I was willing to go. I told her you do whatever it is you need to do to be you. But you're not taking the kids. Double quote. After a few days she realized that she couldn't leave and not see the kids so she begged me to forgive her. I did. Over the next month we became more distant than we were before all this had happened. I took lunch at work and decided to go home for it, which I never do. Also when I got home there was nobody home so I decided to go through her computer, which I also never do. Found pictures of her with some guy she had met on Zynga Poker who lived guess where? The state that her supposed family reunion was. I've never had a panic attack until this day. I had to call my neighbor and have him sit with me because I legit thought I was having a heart attack. Took pictures of everything I found. Other pictures, emails, and Facebook messages. I waited until the kids were in bed. I refused to fight and scream in front of them, and laid all my pictures out there for her to see. Not a fun day. My dad was recently caught cheating on my mom after 27 years. While using his laptop my mom noticed Facebook said hello Mike Long. Can we log you back in? My sweet mom still had no idea he was cheating. Until my teenage sister broke it to her that he's using a fake account. That only opened a whole other world of nasty surprises. Love you dad. But I also hate you. I signed into her Google account to check her emails. She forgot her password so I had to reset it. I checked her Google Maps history and her most recent visits were at my best friend's house while I was away for work. +1 for Google Maps. That's crazy. I was looking at Google Maps timeline and it even shows pictures you took while you were there. It occurred to me that it was a solid litmus test so I told my so about it and she responded really? Can we look at mine? Double quote. So I've got that going for me. Overconfidence. I planned it well. I looked at her schedule and planned my trips so that she was too busy to dig into my alibis. I kept it simple and uncomplicated. I always went to the gym to hide the smell and any traces of the encounter. I always paid with cash to avoid a paper trail. I fooled myself into thinking that it was working and I got sloppy. But she suspected something was wrong. We had made our promises in front of God. But she knew I was a man of large appetites before we made our vows. She noticed changes in my appearance. She saw the extra spring in my step. Then she started going through my clothes. Sure enough, she found damning evidence of my activities. She confronted me with the all-you-can-eat buffet loyalty card nearly filled in and I confessed. It is time for me to now face the consequences. I've come home from work to find her in bed with one of her friends. I raged for a few minutes then I remembered that I did that to her too. So I relaxed myself in a matter of seconds and told her that a month prior this, I cheated on her with a colleague at work. Lost my job, company closing, and my wife freaked out. Said she needed a good long vacation to clear her head. She wanted to go by herself and got her parents to buy her a ticket to go to Europe for a month. I fully supported her and said go. It'll be good to just spend some time by yourself and soul search. I'm sure you'll feel better after you decompress. Things got a little worse between us while waiting for the trip to happen. So I figured she needed more space sooner so I started staying in our guest room apartment above a garage. Come into the house one day while she's at work and notice a new webcam on her computer. I start up the computer and look in her email to find that she's going to be meeting some guy in Europe. They've been trading naked pics and writing romance scripts about their first sexual encounter. The scripts end in ritualistic vows of marriage, including cutting each other's fingers and signing a love contract in blood. All this time she was just saying she needed time off and to find herself. But now I know she's planning on cheating on me when she goes to Europe, and worse. She's not even a shadow of the woman I thought I was married to. I've hired a divorce lawyer and am moving forward with dissolving all ties with her. I don't want her back at all. She can rot in hell for all I care. We've been married 8 years and I've been the most loving, devoted husband possible to her, and now this. I'm going to need some therapy after this because I'm scared I can't trust anyone ever again. Lesson: don't stick your DCK in crazy. Took me 8 years to figure it out. Now I'm wondering if this is the first time she's done this shitty behind my back. Have I been taken for a ride this whole time? It happened to a friend of mine. We were all on vacation, about 7 friends, and everybody was drinking. We were the only 2 who didn't. He managed to snag his girlfriend's phone while she was passed out and pulled me to the side. He said she's cheating on me. Some guy named Joey texting her and meeting her after work for sex every day. Plus how he can make her extra wet. We ended up searching names and mutual friends via Facebook. Turned out Joey was a girl. Not the cheater, but the one she was cheating with. We were caught by a co-worker at her cubicle after hours. She bribed the co-worker to stay quiet by giving her position as head of the office's party planning committee. This worked for a few months until there was a dispute over the way pita bread for a party was to be cut. She ratted out the girl in front of the entire office. I then had a duel with the fiancé, but we ended up both dropping the cheater. Not me, but my buddy. He is such a great guy and yet has been cheated on by every girl he has ever dated. First girl apparently gets so blackout drunk that she can't tell who is who because after going to a party one night ended up telling my friend that they should have bathtub sex like they did the other night. Only he had never had bathtub sex. Second girl dumps him because she was convinced he was cheating on her. After swearing up and down that he wasn't. He finally asked why she was so convinced. He's a great guy and would never even give the slightest reason for her to be suspicious. She told him that she had been cheating, so he had to have been too. Third girl that he is currently with is best friends with her most recent ex, as in still goes on best friend dates, and she still lives with and is friends with her ex-boyfriend. It is apparent to everyone but him that he is getting cheated on. He really is just so sweet and naive. I almost got caught once in high school. Invited one girl over to my house after some kinky ASL exchanges on AOL Instant Messenger. While I was hanging out with her, my actual girlfriend dropped by unannounced. Came by because she knew me more than anyone and knew I wouldn't be doing anything useful with my time. So I convinced the other girl it was my crazy sister and we hid in the living room listening to her bang on my door, call my name, and call my phone for an hour. I lived in a small, boring town, and when we got our first Applebee's, it created a sensation. My side chick insisted I take her there for lunch. Then when we got the check, I tried to leave the waitress at 20. Bad idea. My dates thought I was trying to hit on the waitress with the large tip and got upset with me. Oh. M.R. Sinatra. Why don't you spend a little of that cash on me instead? Double quote. Her ridicule shamed me into pulling back the 20 and leaving a 5 instead. Bad idea. My actual girlfriend developed a hankering for Applebee's that night. I tried to weasel my way out of going again, but she wore me down and we got the same waitress. She was none too pleased to see me after that weak tip. Back again? You two really like to eat good in the neighborhood. Double quote. My girlfriend gave the waitress a strange look and she said, "Oh. And I love the new pixie cut. Much easier to manage." Double quote. My girlfriend looked nothing like my mistress. The waitress was simply playing dumb and acting like a haircut was involved to rat me out. And it worked. The GF figured out I had been banging that co-worker with hair down to her ass. I looked on her laptop and saw she was messaging her mother about this guy she was on a date with. Also messaging her friend about how perfect he was and DCK size. She was supposedly at her friend's but never came home that night. We were together for 4.5 years and she couldn't be decent and break up. All of you cheaters can go f***ing die, by the way. Be a decent person and just end it. Reddit. I made a throwaway account and posted in relationship advice on how to break up with my girlfriend of almost 5 years because I had fallen for someone else. My ex, practically being FBI, knew something wasn't right. She looked through a lot of things but ended up going as far as going into the relationship advice subreddit. Searched for 4 years 17M and found my post. My fiance left me 2 days before Christmas. She told me she needed to move out and get space. That she was moving to her friend's house. This went on for a week. Until, because we have a family Apple plan, I looked up a location. And she was not at her friend's house. I'm now a single dad of a 1-year-old and she's moving out west with him. Merry Christmas. I caught my ex when we were both standing in the examining room, getting his UT treatment. Doc came in and said gonorrhea. He lied for a whole 2-3 months, I imagine. Even lied about how he got it. Tried convincing me he swiped his penis in some mystery fluids in a gas station toilet. What the FCK? When he realized I wasn't f***ing stupid, he tried to drink random bottles on the doctor's shelf. He started hitting himself. He fell on his knees sobbing and tried grabbing my hands and begging for me not to leave. He threatened murder-suicide that entire night. And assaulted me for close to 9 hours when I was trying to pack my bags to leave. He choked me in the driveway. I just spoke out his sentencing this Thursday. He is a convicted felon now. I hope he's grown from this. Never physically cheated, but emotionally did. Connected on an emotional level with my old coworker, who I had met years before we had started working in the same place together. My ex went through my phone and saw texts where we were talking about non-work related stuff, an event where my coworker had been data ped, and also late night phone calls between the two of us when we finished work to either talk about work or some random thing. Always non-essential talk. Anyhow, it didn't go down well with my ex, and we broke up shortly thereafter as a result. It sucked. I still miss my ex pretty much all the time, but I f***ed up so can never fault her for leaving. Short story. Sorry for the writing, I did my best lol. Go to gym. No headphones. That's cool. House is 5 minutes away. Pull up and see work buddy's car out front. Walk in house through open garage. Sun coloring at kitchen table. Ask him, hey bud, where's your mom? Dot. He points at the stairs. Walk to stairs, hear moans and movement. Up to this point I had suspected but never had proof. Knew I had to go look and catch her or she would say I was overreacting and tell me it wasn't what I thought. Walk upstairs and hear them in spare bedroom. Walk in room and say, well, this is awkward. They freak out and try to grab cloths and tell me nothing is happening. I walk out to car and have ex-buddy chase me out and tell me to hit him. I go to my command, I'm in the military, the next day. Report him and have the command force him to call his wife that day and let her know. I am now divorced and much happier. I found out my pose boyfriend had cheated when my friends told me about it. They were some of the ones he cheated on me with. To be fair, they only told me after other friends that had not slept with him. I think, mentioned they thought something had happened. Turned out he fooled around with several of my close female friends, including sleeping with one at a house party literally across the street from my own house. My mom found out and begged me to stay with him because she didn't think I could do better. Then would play solitaire games with the win bounty being that I would stay with him and he would take me back. I knew because she would constantly tell me, hello the first boyfriend. And definitely set up 15-16-year-old me for the cruel, hilarious soap opera that is life. Real DCK move there. Chris. My boyfriend's sister was caught by a mutual friend. He didn't know at the time that her current fiance just started working with him. After realizing they were engaged and getting to know the guy, he is a really nice guy. He had to confront him and tell him he saw his soon-to-be wife making out with another guy at a bar. She ended up ending the engagement and moving out from feeling guilty. She claimed that she didn't know the guy and that it was a drunk mistake. Turns out a few months later, she tells the truth and admits she had been seeing the guy for months before she got caught. Funny thing is, she keeps doing this in every relationship. And no one tells her boyfriends until it's too late.